Hey Formula One fans, it's heating up. A rival team to Red Bull just landed a major partner, and this could change the game for good. The behind-the-scenes discussions are on fire, and the internal crisis at Red Bull just keeps growing. And there's more. Paddock is boiling. The most anticipated negotiations in the paddock are about to happen. Mercedes and Aston Martin are battling for a massive F1 name, and the future of the grid could change completely with this decision. The F1 news is coming in fast, so don't waste any time. Hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all the latest in Formula One. Just press subscribe below the video. It's quick, free, and no sign-up needed. This is F1 Fastline News, your daily source for everything Formula One. Let's get straight to the point. We're starting with a hot topic that's been causing a stir behind the scenes in Formula One. The controversy surrounding Red Bull and the supposed advantage they have due to their ties with VCARB. And who's raising this issue again? None other than Zak Brown, McLaren's CEO, who just found a new ally in his crusade, Günther Steiner. Let's break down this situation and figure out why this debate is flaring up again. It all kicked off at the Singapore Grand Prix when Daniel Ricciardo made a late pit stop and, surprisingly, grabbed the fastest lap of the race. All good, right? Well, this move directly impacted the title fight because Ricciardo snagged the fastest lap point, taking it away from race leader Lando Norris at that moment. It may seem like a small detail, but in a season as tight as this one, every point is crucial. Anyone who remembers the 2021 season knows exactly what I'm talking about. The problem, according to Zak Brown, is that these kinds of situations raise questions about the relationship between Red Bull and VCARB. The claim is that these sister team maneuvers create an unfair competitive advantage, which many feel goes against the sporting spirit of Formula One. And this isn't the first time Brown has called this relationship into question. In an interview with SiriusXM, he bluntly said, "That's a nice AB team play, something I didn't think was allowed. But hey, this isn't the first time we've seen it, and it probably won't be the last." This is where Günther Steiner comes in. The former Haas boss recently backed Brown's stance on the Red Flags podcast. For Steiner, the issue stems from the fact that one person, in this case the late Dietrich Mateschitz and now Red Bull, controls two teams. This always leaves room for suspicion of team orders, not just within one team, but between teams. He was even more direct, saying, "In a sport like Formula One, no owner should have two teams." But why is this so important? Because at the core, both Steiner and Brown believe this relationship can artificially change the course of the championship. Even though Horner and Red Bull have always insisted that the two teams operate independently, what happened in Singapore showed otherwise. Ricciardo's stop to take a point from Norris and hand it to Verstappen didn't seem so innocent. And when you consider that Verstappen and Norris are nearly tied in the championship, that extra point could make all the difference when we get to Abu Dhabi. Steiner raised an interesting point. If it had been a team like Sauber setting the fastest lap, no one would have batted an eye. But when two teams share the same owner, the suspicions start flying. He even acknowledged that Red Bull has done a lot for Formula One by saving the old Minardi team, now VCARB, and that back then, Red Bull's presence was vital for some teams' survival. However, with F1's growth, Steiner pointed out that maybe it's time to reconsider multi-team ownership to avoid these doubts and protect the integrity of the sport. Now, will the FIA step in on this? Honestly, I doubt it. As Steiner himself said, Red Bull has poured a lot into Formula One and helped shape the sport as we know it today. Forcing a drastic change in the commercial agreements or the Concord Agreement seems unlikely. But one thing's for sure, this debate isn't going away anytime soon. What really stands out to me in all this is how it affects the mental game for the drivers and smaller teams. Imagine being Lando Norris and seeing a move like that happen right in front of you, knowing it could affect your shot at the title. It puts a huge weight on the shoulders of drivers and teams who often feel disadvantaged by these behind-the-scenes strategies. So here's my question for you. Are we seeing hidden favoritism at play here? Or is this just smart strategic planning? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's dive into the next big story. You won't want to miss it. Stick with me till the end. Shifting gears. All right, folks, let's talk about some news that could shake up the foundations of Formula One in the coming years. We're talking about a potential bombshell in the driver market involving none other than three-time world champion Max Verstappen. His name is being strongly linked to a move to Mercedes in 2026. And who dropped this bombshell? Günther Steiner, in an interview on the Red Flags podcast. So, is Verstappen about to leave Red Bull and join Toto Wolff and his team? Well, let's first look at the current situation. After Lewis Hamilton decided to leave Mercedes and join Fred Vassar's project at Ferrari, Toto Wolff had to completely rethink his team's lineup. For 2025, he secured George Russell and young prodigy Kimi Antonelli. However, both drivers will be free agents at the end of next year, leaving the door open for a new face. And that's where Max Verstappen comes into play. Wolff has never hidden his admiration for Verstappen. He knows that having the Dutchman at Mercedes would be a massive power move and a way to re-establish the team as the top force in Formula One. Plus, Mercedes engines are still a trump card that hardly any driver would turn down. But Verstappen isn't just on Wolff's radar. Aston Martin, which will also have Honda engines starting in 2026, is another strong contender to attract Max, especially given his history with the Japanese manufacturer. And what does Günther Steiner have to say about all of this? For him, the choice is clear. I see Verstappen at Mercedes in 2026. He has options, but I think Mercedes will be his destination. And this isn't just a wild guess. Steiner has been closely watching the scene and knows that if Red Bull loses Verstappen, Christian Horner will have to find someone worthy to fill his seat. And let's be honest, finding a replacement for Max is no easy task. But who could be that replacement? Red Bull has a few promising names in its young driver program, like Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda. However, Horner made it clear in Singapore that he's willing to explore options outside his current roster, and one name that's already been floated is George Russell. Yes, the same George Russell who's been nurtured by Mercedes from the start and is currently seen as the natural successor to Hamilton within the team. Horner even commented on this possibility during the Singapore GP, saying, "George Russell is out of contract at the end of next year. It would be foolish not to consider that. There are other talented drivers who will also be out of contract." Statements like these only fuel the speculation and suggest that Red Bull is ready to make a bold move in the market if they really think Verstappen might leave. But would Mercedes actually let Russell go? According to Wolff, the chances are slim. George has been a Mercedes driver forever, and we hope he'll stay that way forever. It's a strong response, but it doesn't completely rule out the possibility that something could happen, especially if Verstappen decides to suit up in silver for Mercedes in 2026, which makes me wonder, what would this mean for team dynamics? Verstappen leaving Red Bull would be a huge blow to the team, which has built its recent dominance around him. For Mercedes, it would be a triumphant return to the top, especially after years of searching for someone to truly replace Hamilton. On the other hand, Russell moving to Red Bull would mark a new chapter in his career and a chance to prove himself in a team that's constantly battling for the title. And where does Aston Martin fit into all of this? Verstappen's connection to Honda, starting in 2026, could open the door for him to join Lawrence Stroll's team, especially when you consider their impressive growth over the past few years. This creates a real puzzle for the other teams on the grid. So, what do you think about this potential game of musical chairs? Would Verstappen really leave Red Bull? Would George Russell be a good fit at Red Bull? And is Aston Martin ready to welcome a driver of Max's caliber? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know what you think. And hey, if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Here, we talk about Formula One without beating around the bush, with strong opinions and tons of info. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and join this passionate community of F1 fans. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and share it with your fellow Formula One enthusiasts. Let's grow this F1 fan community together. See you next time, speeding towards victory.